Hello everyone, Simon here. Welcome back to the architecture of Hitman, World of Assassination. We are in Chongqing, China. So Chongqing is one of the biggest cities in China. It is located towards the southwest, away from the coast. So it's the big inland city in China. The city itself is located amongst mountains and rivers. So we have a river there, and then we have like mountains back that way. You can't see them very clearly from here though. Um, it's so the terrain leads to a very distinctive urban environment. In recent decades, Chongqing has experienced enormous population growth, which has been matched by equally enormous housing and infrastructure investment. And as you can see, we are surrounded by housing and infrastructure. In order to keep up with the population growth, um, so over there we have a somewhat exaggerated rendition of the Chongqing skyline. We have the LED facades on the skyscrapers over there. It's not quite that shiny in real life, but it's pretty shiny in real life. So the in-game, the map in the game, it's a bit of a mishmash of different landmarks from different parts of Chongqing, kind of just mashed together into one space. It's been rearranged into a fictional montage of the city. So you look at that bridge there, see that? So keep that in mind, and you see that? See the cable car there? Keep that in mind. And then also... oh, that sign there. Look at that. Welcome to Yuzhong District. Keep that in mind as well. Yuzhong is actually that. So Yuzhong is over there. Where we are now is not Yuzhong. Let's go look at the map. Where are we? Oh look, there it is, China. So China, in the middle of the land here, well I guess it's more like the middle, it's kind of southwest I guess. I mean China goes all the way to over there, right? So southwestish, Chongqing inland, we have a big city, and even from space you can see, look at this. See these folds in the land? So these are mountains, right? So geologically, you have the Indian plate pushing up into China, and so that creates the Himalayan mountains here, right? And all this land is kind of folding up as the as this plate is pushing up. So you see these mountains being pushed up, and that also leads to folds in the land like this. So the land's being squished together. And then Chongqing is sitting in the middle of this, right? We also have the Yangtze River. So this river winding through here, so the Yangtze River, and then you have like these mountains. And in between these mountains we have Chongqing. Isn't that crazy? So you're like squished between these mountains and straddling this river, Chongqing. Now Yuzhong is this area here. So this is the middle of Chongqing. Right there. And in the game, if you look at the minimap there, it says north. So north is that way, south is that way. Apparently we're somewhere to the north of Yuzhong, so we're somewhere around here. But that doesn't really make too much sense. Oh, the road map doesn't match the satellite imagery, which is a bit of a shame. So the cable car is here, the ropeway of Yangtze River. So you see that cable car, that thing there is that thing there, right? Except that it's in a different place. So we're supposed to be here, looking that way, at the skyline of Yuzhong. The cable car has been moved over here. And that bridge, so these bridges don't look like the bridge in game. Like this is a different bridge. And that's also a different bridge. The bridge in game, believe it or not, is actually here. Is that wild? The bridge in game is that one. You see the shape of? Can you see the? You can see the big H shape with the legs spreading out. That bridge is this bridge, which is that bridge, and it's a train bridge. It's not a road bridge. Look at that. See the trains going through? So they took the bridge from all the way here, and they moved it all the way up there, and then they moved the rope way up here, and then they changed everything around. So the area in game doesn't actually exist in the real world. It's a mashup of different parts of Chongqing mashed together. So just to see the real city, so Chongqing, so there we're looking over at Yuzhong. Look at that. That says hello Chongqing, hello world. You see how they put LEDs on their skyscrapers, and so they put on these light shows. So in the game, like all the buildings have LED lights. In the real world, less so. I mean, there are lights, but only some of them have the light displays. So that's what Yuzhong looks like, and then there's like like mountains, and then high-rise apartments in the mountains, and then the monorail going through the buildings because there's not enough space. Because you have like a steep mountain and you're trying to fit a lot of stuff into this narrow space. And notice that it continues going down, by the way. So there's like walkways that just bridge over. The cliff continues going down. The road itself, like this is a platform. The road itself is on the cliff, and then the buildings are on the cliff. And the thing is, the train is like on stilts above the cliff, and then there's more buildings above the cliff. So this is Chongqing. It's insane, right? It's pretty crazy, right? Yeah, good times. And then there's historic parts of the city right next to enormous. These are all under construction, like enormous new apartment blocks just continuously being built. There's new stuff going up all the time. Like remember back in the Mumbai map, we talked about housing deficits and infrastructure deficits. Chongqing has managed to overcome those deficits by building like crazy. It's building like an absolute madman, non-stop, putting up apartment blocks and roads and trains and everything else. So that's Chongqing. So Yuzhong, let's go see this. So during the day, it looks like that. Look how dense that is. Crazy, right? That tower there is that tower back there. I think it's supposed to be that tower back there. I'm not too sure though. Slightly different shape. That tower's pretty famous. It's the World Trade Center. The Chongqing World Trade Center, I think, is what it's called. Alright, there it is, looking at nighttime. Oh yeah, 360-degree loves Chongqing. Chongqing scenery never stops. I don't know what... I think that's what it says. A little strange. Anyway, interesting slogans. Oh, so there's the historic city down there, look at that. Down there is the historic city, or what remains of it, that's been preserved. And then just massive skyscrapers all behind it. Yeah, China. So the Yangtze River Cableway, not too much information about that. Basically, it's a cable car across the river. So this is like an old... Before they were bridges, they had the cable cars. Now there are like bridges everywhere. That's one of the stations. So Chongqing, like some of this stuff looks pretty old, right? It's not really old, it's more that it's humid and so it's hard to keep stuff clean. Like white buildings probably not a good idea because it's humid, and so like all the stuff just grows on it and stains and everything. Uh, we've seen that bridge before, and let's go to Google image search and just look at Chongqing, right? So there's the old city, very cool, and then there's the, oh, that's a small image. Like crazy skyscrapers with like a thing across. Very cool. Okay. Oh yeah, and yeah, trains going through buildings. Happens very often apparently in Chongqing. And like really high walkways, and the highway, you have to like go, because this is a mountainside, right? So the highway has to go down the mountainside and then across the bridge, and you can't go straight down because it's too steep, right? So to have it not so steep, you kind of drive around in a circle and then go down. Like kind of corkscrew down to get to the riverside and then cross the bridge. Oh, Chongqing, yeah, let's go. Like, if I didn't show you the photo, you would think I was insane explaining that to you. Like, they built a highway from the mountain down to the river, but it's too steep, right? Oh yeah, monorails, highways. And look at how steep that is. And the highways are all like raised up. And all these buildings. Okay, cool. So that's the real Chongqing. In game, I mean, okay, like we have bridges and things. And if you look down, look, there's like a monorail track down there. And then there's like towers going up. Let me walk back here actually. Oh, and like there's another monorail track up there, and then there's more buildings behind. The mountain goes up that way. Oh, it goes into a building, look at that. Oh yeah, that's accurate. Look at that. The train goes through that building there. Down here we have like raised walkways. And like these are all like raised terraces, raised platforms. This is a raised platform, right? There's tracks down there, and whoa, this might be a little exaggerated. I don't know, maybe this is realistic. And like, no, this is exaggerated. But only a little bit. Like there's raised walkway and then more raised walkway. Back there's a train station, and the train is just underneath those apartment blocks. And the apartment blocks themselves are on stilts. Yeah, Chongqing, am I right? Madness. Absolute madness. Alright, so let's go walk around the map in the game and have a look. So there's some more historic buildings. See that? There's a tile roof there. So that building is a bit more historic, I think. And that's a little bit historic, and then right next to it is the big ass towers. So everything is squished together, a lot of stuff packed together in close proximity. And as we said, like you see how the monorail goes into the building there, and then you have these terraces, and that's where the streets are. This might be a little bit exaggerated, but only a little bit. And here, the cable car, right, goes across there, disappears into the mountains behind those buildings there. Alright. Down here, a bit of a terrace area. So this is a little strange. There's like rubbish, and then there's homeless people. Now, if you've been to China, if you've like been to China recently, in the past maybe 5 or 10 years, maybe 5 years, you will know that you can't find homeless people in China. So the Chinese government is proactively finding homes for people, and what they do, like what they can do, is they can hire these homeless people to pick up this rubbish, pay them, and then tell them to spend that money to rent a cheap apartment somewhere and get off the street. So that's like the sort of thing the Chinese government would do, or the local government would do, is like, you know what, I'll pay you to pick this up, and then you take the money and you find a place to live, and just get off the street. Because the government has a policy of housing everybody and not having homeless people, and so the government would just figure out how to do it, and just find excuses to pay people, and give them places to live, right? In the game, alright, so the fiction of the game is that there's a mad scientist kidnapping homeless people to do experiments on them. So that's what's happening in the game, and there's no, like, the Chinese government is nowhere to be found in the game, and because like, I don't know if you can understand. Like, the Chinese government is everywhere in China, like literally everywhere. They have a lot of people, and they care about everything, right? If there's something wrong, they know about it. And so it's unlikely that you would just have homeless people lying around here, because the Chinese government would come and see what's happening. And it's unlikely that there's some crazy scientist experimenting on people, because the Chinese government would come and see what's happening. So like, you you can't really do dodgy stuff like this and escape notice in China, not really. But for the fiction of the game, there's basically no Chinese government, right? And so then this sort of stuff is happening. But this is fictional. Like, this, you won't see this happening in the real Chongqing. Alright, so we come up and then we have this area. The street ends here, so this is a bit of a cul-de-sac, right? The roads end here and the road goes that way. So we're kind of like in a dead-end courtyard, kind of out to the side. And if you look around, you'll notice that the buildings are a little bit older and maybe not in great repair. I mean, some parts of Chongqing are like this, at least, you know, superficially like this. Let's go this way. So here we have more of the elevated walkways. And this gives us a great view of the skyline opposite. Look at that. That's a little bit exaggerated, right? So what's happening there is they put LED lights on the facades, and then they do these displays on the LED facades. Not a lot of buildings in Chongqing actually have this, but some do. So some of this is exaggerated, but it's not completely baseless, right? There are buildings with LED facades. That says "I love Chongqing," and then it's just a bunch of logos for companies. So that's unlikely. Again, like, if stuff is broken like this, some government official would notice, because they're everywhere. You would, like, what do I mean by everywhere? Okay, maybe I should explain this, just because people don't know. A lot of people don't know. Is that, so the Communist Party, they have deputies, and there's basically one deputy for every 500 people. So that's what I mean when I say they're everywhere. So just like, you look around anywhere, 1 out of every 500 people is directly employed and working for the Communist Party. 1 out of every 500 people. They're not just like, you know, they're not just party supporters. Not like, you know, in the United States, for example, you have, oh, I'm a registered Democrat. Yeah, but you're not paid by the Democratic Party, and you don't work for the Democratic Party, right? Whereas 1 in 500 people work for the Communist Party in China, right? And so, you know, like in the West, there's like members of parliament, or there's senators, or there's Congress people. Like, there are people who represent you in government, but there'll be like 1 every 10,000, 1 every 50,000 people would be a representative, right? So each representative would represent tens of thousands of people. Whereas in China, every deputy represents 500 people. And what that means is that the deputy, if they go around talking to people every day, they talk to like 5 or 10 people every day, that means they'll talk to you. A Chinese Communist Party member will talk to you several times a year at least. So they're the sort of acquaintance that talk to you regularly, and so they know you. The government knows you, or at least somebody in the government knows you, and they talk to you regularly, and you see them several times every year, and so they know what's going on. And so when 1 out of every 500 people is working for the government, they're gonna notice stuff like this, and they're gonna fix it. Because they're there, they see it, right? Nothing really escapes the Communist Party, because there's so many of them. So that's the government in China. And when you understand that, then a lot of the stuff you see in the game here, like the homeless people, the rubbish on the street, the broken canopy, like stuff like this, it doesn't really make any sense because they would know and they would fix it. Because there's so many of them. Does that make sense? I hope it does. Like, I feel like it's hard to understand China without really understanding stuff like this. Just how many people actually work for the government, and they're everywhere. Alright, moving on. So this is sort of like a back alley, I guess. Here we have some bamboo scaffolding. Very iconic. So bamboo scaffolding is a bit of a craft, a bit of an art. Bamboo is, in terms of like a strength to weight ratio, is better than steel, right? So for how heavy it is and how strong it is stronger than steel per weight. So it makes great scaffolding if you know how to use it. The problem with bamboo is that every piece of bamboo is different, and over time the bamboo will break, and so you need to be really familiar with the material to know how to tie it so that it stays together, and you need to know like when it's about to break, because if over time it'll just start to decay and decompose, right? Because it's bamboo, it's biological, it's just wood. So you kind of have to like know the material and know when to stop using that piece of bamboo and just get fresh bamboo, right? So using bamboo scaffolding is a bit of an art. You kind of need a lot of experience to be familiar with the material, to really know how it will behave and how you like tie together irregular pieces of biological materials, because every piece of bamboo is slightly different, right? I mean, they're kind of similar, but they're also slightly different. So unlike steel scaffolding, there's no manual. Like there's no standard. It's not standardized. But if you do know how to use it, it's very good. It's efficient and effective, and it's slightly elastic as well. Like when you drop things on steel, it vibrates and shakes, and it's kind of like harsh. Whereas if you drop something on bamboo, it's elastic and it bounces a little bit, and so it's softer. So there are advantages and disadvantages. It's harder to learn to use, but once you've learned to use it and you're good at it, it's more effective than a steel scaffold. And that's why people in China continue to use bamboo scaffolding. Alright, continuing around. Another great view of the skyline over there, with the great Yangtze River. Very cool. Alright, through here. Oh, another great view, another bridge. A road bridge this time. So this road bridge is more like... Wait, it's not a road bridge, it's a train bridge. I thought that was a road bridge. No, it's a train bridge. Never mind. There are actually more road bridges than train bridges in Chongqing. Where are the road bridges? Ah, never mind. Alright, coming in here. So that's interesting. They've got... Are those bird cages? So bird cages like that, that's a bit old-fashioned. So back in the old days, people would keep birds in cages as pets. I don't know if people still do it. It's a bit old-fashioned. There's a building in here. We're not going in here just now.
Smart guy. This area's off limits. You understand that?
Yeah.
Hey, do what you're told, alright?
We'll be coming back here later on. I just want you to remember this place, because it's gonna get confusing later on. Alright, coming through here, that says hot food takeaway. That says insurance. So coming back here, that's the dead end courtyard in there. We have neon signs, very cyberpunk. There's actually not that many neon signs like this in Chongqing. This is more like Hong Kong or Tokyo. There are some parts of Chongqing that are like this. That's in fact that's a ryokan. Do Chinese, I guess Chinese also use that as hotel. Tattoo shop. Shoe repairs. Massage. More massage? Anyway, I don't need to read all the signs for you. Alright, continuing around here, more back streets. There's more homeless people hanging out here. Again, unlikely. And then coming back here, there's just like junk. Unlikely. Because as I said, there's Communist Party deputies everywhere. Like this. At some point, the Communist Party deputy is gonna knock on your door and it's like, hey, what's wrong with your rubbish bin? Do you need help? Are you okay? Are you in pain? Why is your rubbish bin like this? If you're not in trouble, why is your rubbish bin like this? Right? The party deputy would just kind of come to you and ask you these questions. It's like, is there something wrong? Do you need our help? Or can you pick this up on your own? Huh? Yes. Yeah, no, you won't get rubbish just sitting out in the street like this. Everyday greeting supermarket, yeah. Alright, so these are the streets. Nothing too remarkable. Basically just kind of dense city alleyways. That's weird. Is that like an English graffiti? Where's the Chinese graffiti? That's odd. They're reusing English graffiti from elsewhere. Ah, they didn't make any Chinese graffiti. Sad face. Maybe it's for the best, actually. Or you might accidentally offend people if you write the wrong things. Alright, so we're back here. We've went around the street. It's not very big, huh? Like, it's very dense, and I guess there's a lot of architecture. Like, from a game... video game limitations perspective, like, there's only so many polygons you can fit into a level, right? And I guess they use so many polygons on the background that they can't really afford to have a really big level. Oh well. Okay, so let's go inside some of these buildings. There's really only two major ones. We'll do those last, I guess. There's a few minor spaces. Here we have a wet cat laundromat. And that says meow 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 meow.
Hey, mister.
I don't know who made this sign, but it's very funny. We have a cat. We have a laundromat. It's pretty much what you would expect. Nothing too flashy. So there's like a upstairs area. There's nothing really here except for the gameplay purposes. You can get onto the roof. And let me just run up there real quick and just show you the view from the roof. Like, I don't really have anything to say about it, but it's nice. I think we should appreciate the amount of work that our level artists have put into making this level. Chongqing! Right, see, from here we can see, oh, there's a lot of buildings back there. And those are still under construction. So it's just kind of buildings everywhere, and they more or less step down from the mountain down to the river, right? Very cool there, and then we have the bright lights on the other side of the river. So over there, can we see it from here? Is that building back there? Well, that building does not belong in Chongqing. Some people have said that it looks like a building in Macau, but it's not quite the same as the building in Macau either. So that's the fictional building. That does not come from Chongqing. They just took a building from a different city and put it here because it looks cool, right? Alright, and that's it. I only came up here for the view. I have no further comments. Let's get back down.
I want all the details about
Okay, out of the laundromat. And then here we have a karaoke bar, a very small one. A very small karaoke bar. Over here we have a bit of an apartment building. Not that many apartments in here though, I guess everything has been squished down for the video game. Anything we need to say about this? Not really. No, nothing remarkable. On this floor, we have vaguely Chinese looking furnishings. Again, a bird cage. No actual birds. Do people still keep birds in Chongqing? I don't think people do this anymore. We have a bit of a lounge area, a bit of a dining and a kitchen, and then the bed. So a very small, modest apartment. Very much lived in, not very tidily. Laundry in the bathroom. Okay. So the layout of this apartment is not very well done. There's a lot of wasted space right here. I don't know if it's for gameplay reasons or if it's just bad design. So usually what do you do? Usually what you do is you have the kitchen by the exit, and then maybe the bathroom also by the exit. So imagine if the toilet was on this side. Imagine if here, this, in there is a toilet, and then maybe a bit of a kitchen here, and then you would have all of this in a big open space. Maybe you can like close off one side as the bedroom, and then you have like a lounge. And that would be a more efficient use of space. And it's actually more apparent upstairs. Right, so we have this apartment. Right, and then the toilet's in here, bathroom, right? Kitchen's there, dining's there, but then there's a whole bit here that doesn't do anything. It's just wasted space. It's just if you can eliminate corridors, then you have more space for the rooms, right? And then we have like a little sitting area, no TV, and then the bed. So imagine if the bathroom, imagine if the kitchen, if the door was like there, kitchen was here, you don't need a lot of space for the kitchen. If the bathroom was here in this corner, then from this point to there, it's just a big open space. And it's easier to use a big open space, and you can use, like this, can be used for something else. If it's more open. At the moment you can't use the space because it's too narrow. I guess you could like put a couch on one side, put a TV on the other, but then people would walk back and forth through this. It's just not, it's not quite big enough to do anything in. Whereas if you just move this block to that corner, then you have a lot more space to work with. It's kind of basic apartment design. Upstairs, there's a roof. We're not going up to the roof. There's nothing interesting up there for us.
You can learn so much about someone from what they keep around.
Back down to the street. And then, over here, we have...
Hey, Doc.
This is like a PC cafe with arcade machines. Oh, look at that. PC cafes. I don't think... I mean, these PCs are way too old. I wonder if this is supposed to suggest that this is Chongqing from like a decade or two ago. How old are those computers? No, the skyline looks pretty modern. I'm not sure. Like, some of this is a little bit anachronistic. It's a little, seems to be from the wrong time period. Okay, so that's all the minor bits and pieces. There's a courtyard in there, unremarkable. So one of the major areas in the game is this building, the block. Street area. The block. Is that the translation for the block? Anyway. The block is this building.
Hey, get a load of Einstein over here.
What this building is an apartment block that has been disused and then it's been taken over by someone else. There's a stairwell there, not gonna go up there yet. So there's a door there, apartment in there, I presume, and then here we have a kitchen, right? So this is what a proper apartment design would be more like. Kitchen here, and then we have like a big open space. This partition is temporary, so you have like a lounge here, I guess, lounge dining, and then bedroom. And then here we have the toilet. So this used to be an apartment, but it's been taken over by these guys, and they're doing some sort of science thing in here. So in the game, the story is that they're recruiting homeless people to do experiments on them, right? This is where they recruit the people. And if we come over here, more apartments. We can't go inside. All the furniture has been moved out into the hallway. You can go upstairs.
Doctor.
So the next level, they've set up a security station in the hallway. The hall goes down there, right? Remember the stairwell is there and there at opposite ends of the building. And in the apartment areas, they've knocked out the walls. They've knocked out the door. This is probably unsafe, this. So the wall used to go all the way through, and there used to be a wall in between the apartments as well. Not too sure how it's supposed to be. Were there only 2 apartments? I guess there were only 2 apartments here. So there used to be a wall here, 100%. I think there used to be more walls here as well. Not sure if this is like a whole... Yeah, no, the wall goes to maybe about there, and then there's like a doorway, I guess. So in an apartment block like this, a lot of the walls would be load-bearing. And load-bearing means that it's carrying the weight, right? There's load-bearing walls that carry the weight, and then there's just partition walls that are not structural. You can remove the partition walls safely, but if you remove the load-bearing walls, the building will fall down. Because the load-bearing walls is what's holding up the stuff above, right? If you remove that, the stuff above would fall down on you. So don't remove load-bearing walls in your apartment. You will compromise the entire building, and everybody would hate you and sue you for damages. And I feel like in an apartment like this looks like a lot of the interior walls would be load-bearing walls. Like this span is way too big. right? This span is too big. Like you need more structure in between here. In the game though, they've removed the stuff and they've turned it into a just like a break area for guards, I guess. There's not much going on down here, huh? Just a whole lot of junk and some people sitting around. Let's go upstairs again. Oh, that's a dead end, my bad. Let's go upstairs again. On this level, again the walls have been punched through and they have human experiments. Ah yes, she's having a bad time. So some sort of sci-fi experimentation going on. They're doing like mind control, mind reading, and that kind of thing. You know, now that I think about it, I'm not sure the electrical system in an apartment like this would be able to handle the load of all these computers and machines, right? So there's extra cables, but they're not power cables. If they're just tapping into the power supply of the building, I don't think it would be enough to support all of this. Oh, and where are the toilets? You know, when you remove the toilets, there are pipes remaining. So this level, where are the toilets? So the kitchen is there. Okay, the kitchen's still there. There should be a toilet there. You know, like, you can kind of retrofit a lounge, a dining room, a bedroom, because there's nothing really there. The thing with kitchens and toilets is a lot of pipes in the walls, in the floors, and you can't really, well, I mean you can, but you can't easily just move a toilet around because you have to kind of move other pipes as well. Whereas if you want to like, oh, I want the dining room to be with the lounges and the lounge to be with the dining rooms, you just move the furniture and that's easy, right? So some of the stuff is a little suspicious.
Why do I remember? What's wrong with me?
Like there's too many computers for the electrical system and the toilets are in the wrong place. Anyway, the kitchen of the other apartment, right? And then the bathroom of one of the apartments. Yeah, so the bathroom should be on the other side as well. But they've somehow removed it. Continuing up. So here there's a secure door. The next floor is the top floor. And here there's a kitchen on this side. So downstairs, this is the public hallway. So there's like a hallway going around the outside and then there's apartments in between. On the top floor, this is a kitchen. So I think the top floor of the apartment is the whole floor. So the penthouse apartment, if you can call this a penthouse, it's a pretty low building. But the penthouse apartment on this floor is the entire thing. I'm not sure if this is outside or inside, but there's a kitchen there and there's a big open space here, which currently they're doing even more human experimentation, as you can see. Oh, is that... did they retrofit more electrical equipment? I think they did. I don't know if that's enough though, the cable's kind of thin. Yeah, they need more power, I think. Yeah, I really think they need more electrical power. Anyway, a big open space that they've put all this equipment in. So it was always an open space, huh? Yeah, no, I feel like there needs to be columns in here. That span is too wide. I think structurally this is a bit suspect. Over on this side, we have like a partition. This is a concrete partition, so it's original. Not sure what this space would have been, maybe a study? It's too far from the kitchen to be the dining, so it's probably like a study here. We got like dining and lounge in there, I guess, maybe. And then back here would have been a bedroom, but there's more equipment in here. Oh, look at that. Electrical equipment. Would that be sufficient? I don't know. There's no bed in the bedroom anymore, but it would have been this room. Okay, and that's the block. So it's an old apartment building that's been taken over by these scientist people who have knocked down some of the walls and turned it into a lab where they're doing human experiments. So that's the story. Like, architecturally, it's not that interesting. Like, it's a concrete apartment block. Very ordinary and plain, and not really anything special to say about it. And the lab is also not that interesting either. It's just a lot of equipment and people sitting around. Okay, at this point in time, we need to change our outfit. The other building... Oh, so there's the road down there, the courtyard, remember? And then there's the skyline back there, and then here's the neon lights. So we're crossing over a sky bridge between two buildings. Over on this side is the other major part of the game level. So this is the rooftop of the other building. Nothing too remarkable. A flat roof. I wonder if it's too flat. I guess it's sufficient. Look at that. There's the monorail. Cool, right? The structure for the monorail track goes through the courtyard of this building to reach the ground. Although I don't know if is that the ground or is that just like a platform over a cliff? Not sure. But there's the there's the intersections between the buildings and the monorail tracks. Do we need to go this way? Not really, right? Let me just look around, make sure that we're not missing anything. Oh, look at that skyline. Very cool. I love Chongqing. Yeah, no, the big building's missing. I thought that was the World Trade Center, but it's really not it. The World Trade Center is... it's called the World Trade Center, right? It's there. And it's missing. Curious. Hold on, let me just... Yuzhong District. The tallest skyscrapers in China. Ah, never mind. It's not too important. It's not in the game anyway. Oh yeah, that building. So that... you won't find that in Chongqing. You'll find something a little bit similar in Macau. Okay, let's go down. So this building is mostly inaccessible in the game, it's just a big stairwell. For the most part. If we run down... the part that we can access in the game is underground. Where we have... oh, what's going on? A secret base underground? How very sci-fi. So here we are. This is the ICA data center. It's a secret base underground in Chongqing, which is odd to say because maybe we're not underground. Maybe we're like beside the cliff and we're just kind of disguised behind some buildings. So the data core is in there, and the structures. So there's like staircases and circulation on that side, and then workspaces around the other three sides. And that's basically the layout of this underground secret facility. Architecturally speaking, what can we say? It's very shiny. It's very plastic. We have like concrete things. It's kind of like a whole mashup of things, isn't it? Why are there so many different panels? Like that's a different panel from that, and that's a different panel from those. And those are different panels? Ah, it's a bit of a mess actually, yeah. It's all over the place. But basically it's shiny, glass, and plastic. And that's pretty much it. Indoor trees, I mean that's... I don't think those give off UV light. So how do they keep the trees alive? Indoors. Okay, so lighting. The way fluorescent tubes work, they produce light specifically tuned to our eyes, right? So our eyes, there are three color receptors. There's, you know, red, green, and blue cones. The cells in the eyes that receive color. So that's why we see red, green, and blue. But that's only because of the way our eyes work, right? So the fluorescent tubes are specifically designed for the way our eyes work, which means that they don't produce a broad spectrum of light. And so they don't actually produce the kind of light that plants need to grow. It's very hard to grow plants under fluorescent tubes. You need incandescent lights. Incandescent lights produce the full spectrum of light, which then allows plants to grow. So this is unlikely. I mean, you can kind of get special fluorescent tubes that do better than just the three colors, but like you're better off using incandescent lights, right? Or like you need special lights specifically designed for growing plants. If you just use fluorescent tubes that are designed, you know, for office use or for home use, it's very hard to grow plants under those conditions, because they just don't produce the kind of lights that the plants need. So that's dubious. Anyway, so coming in, so the entry is that way. There's another entry there. We come into a waiting area and then a security area. Let me get through security real quick.
No slouching. If you want to get through here, I'm gonna need to go through your pockets, my friend.
Alright, they're doing their job, frisking.
Right, that's it. Keep moving, please.
So you immediately come in through security, and there's more security guys in there. Although most of the workstations are empty, which is kind of curious. Security and lockers, storage. And then from the security check, there is stairs downstairs. We're not going down there yet. Over here we have the vetting office, which is basically more security, right? So that's physical security, and this is like a
Let's continue.
identity security.
The second is an assessment of mental risks like anxiety attacks.
Well, he's talking about it now.
Flashbacks, you know, general PTSD.
Over here we have toilets, and then you go through this. A full body scan.
Initiated. Scanning all body systems.
Nobody actually does this for real,
Scanning
right? This is like a
profile.
science fiction trope,
Scanning
right?
chemical profile. Scan complete. Thank you for your patience.
It's a little silly. It's a little silly. Let's just... Alright, we're just gonna roll with it. So you go through the security check, you go through vetting, and you come through here and you get changed. So that guy is disguised as a chef. You come in wearing disguises, and you get changed, and then you go to work. So the whole level is just security.
Ambition can drive you mad. I've seen it
Back
before.
here we have a resting area. We have lockers and sleeping pods. There aren't actually enough. There's only 8 pods. There's not enough pods for all the people who work here, so I'm not sure if this makes sense. If they were like, I don't know, 10 times as many pods, it would make more sense. Right, so the whole level is security, and then we go downstairs, and we finally get to work. Continuing around. Break room analysis office. So here's a break room. I mean, you haven't even started work yet, and you're already taking a break. Nice. And then you get through
You know
here.
if you see any of the others slacking.
We have analysis office. Some sort of nefarious big data thing going on there.
Eyes open, mind sharp.
Equipment in here, some sort of computers. So this is a data facility, right?
Royce knew Vincent's girlfriend was breaking up with him before he did.
Oh
She's
yeah,
spying on us.
big data.
Aren't you on that big social media platform?
So the story is that the ICA is just collecting information on everyone and like drawing connections between people to figure out who they need to kill. So this is completely fiction. Real world data analysis doesn't work like this. It doesn't look like this. There's more computers, fewer screens, right? Over on this side we have more security office. It's just another block of security in here, right? That goes back to the staircase. Alright, we're gonna go, as toilets back there, we're gonna go downstairs again.
Yeah, that's what I like to see.
There's the data core. So here's the main data core, which is very sci-fi. But real computers don't look like this. What is this? What is some kind of spaceship? Ah, man. It's a little silly. And what's with the wavy handrails? Wavy guardrails? It's cartoonish. Like I mean, they went so far to make this sci-fi and stuff. It becomes kind of cartoonish. I think they've kind of like gone a little bit overboard. More server rooms, more computers.
Weird nightmare. I was at work.
Couldn't get into
and
the
suddenly
academy, huh?
got the feeling that nothing could hurt.
This is the core control room. What is this stuff anyway? Just random graphs? Alright, core control room, and then more servers. And that's basically the ICA facility. A whole level just for security checks, another half level for security, half a level for people looking at screens, and then a whole level for computers. I mean, I don't really have anything to say because this sort of facility don't exist in the real world, right? Or if they do, I've never been inside one of them. Usually, like, data servers just have a lot more computers. It's just like a big ass warehouse with a lot of computers, right? It's not like there's way too much wasted space. Basically, is what I'm trying to say. Look how much empty space there is. I mean, how much you want to store a lot of data and you're just wasting space like this, and the whole level is just security. Yeah, it's a little silly. Real data centers don't look like this. Okay, let's go out. We're gonna go out the other entrance. We have a ICA data center. The Chinese does say data center. Ah, look at this. One of these containers. So the entrance is disguised as a pile of containers inside a back alley between the buildings. Yeah, it's just a bunch of containers piled up. And then we're back on the street. Alright. One last thing. Over here we have the Red Dragon restaurant, which offers all-day buffet, reservations, takeaway, noodles, fried vegetables, dim sum, spring rolls. Yeah, Chinese food. So the restaurant is basically just a Chinese restaurant. You know, this feels like the kind of Chinese restaurant you'd find overseas. Because in China, you wouldn't need to put up these silly Chinese ornaments because you're in China. Whereas these sort of silly Chinese ornaments, you put them up to impress foreigners in a foreign country. You see what I mean? Like, when you go to a Chinese restaurant in the United States, for example, there's all these silly Chinese ornaments. In China, you wouldn't do this. In China, the restaurants are really just kind of like modern and clean. Is how they usually
Yeah, I don't know. I think it tastes
furnished.
just like it did yesterday.
Everyone gets warm.
Back here we have toilet. Back here we have kitchen. Yes, you see this furniture? This kind of black modern stuff? The whole restaurant should be this stuff. So we have a kitchen back here,
I'm right in insisting our guest needs his P41, right?
and then the back of the restaurant comes down to the secret entrance. So in the game, the story is that the restaurant is a cover for the ICA facility. So you go to the restaurant, you go to the back, and then you go into the secret facility. Again, a little bit silly, but you know, okay, it's a video game. You wouldn't really do this, right? Even if you had some sort of spy thing going on. That's a little silly, right? Okay, and that's the entire Chongqing level. Let's go find a nice view and sum up. Ah, yeah, look at these neon lights. Very cool. So, what can we say? I mean, look. It seems like they're trying to do like some vaguely Chinese stereotype conspiracies. Like stereotypical Chinese conspiracies. Like mind control experiments and like big data, or the secret like secret surveillance programs. You know what I mean? Like secret surveillance programs and human experimentation and transhumanism. So like, you know, like these kind of like cheesy conspiracy theories. And then they're trying to do it in a way that doesn't offend anyone. So the Chinese government isn't here, right? So that it's not the government doing it. It's some fictional organization doing it, the ICA. And then when they do the big data analysis, they don't show you what the real big data analysis looks like, because if they do, that might offend people. Facial recognition? So they never talk about facial recognition. Like in the real world, what the Chinese really do is facial recognition. Right? It's kind of funny, like they give it to you as a convenience. Right? Like when you go on the subway, you just, like there's a camera, like the gate has a camera. You scan your face and you go through. Or you don't have to pay, like, it just kind of, it just automatically pays money for you. That's your security check. But the thing is, every time you ride the subway, it scans your face. So the subway company knows exactly where you've been, because every time you go through the station, it scans your face. And not only that, they keep a database of your face over time, because one of the things about facial recognition is, as a person ages, or like if they grow a beard and they trim their beard or they change their hairstyle, like those subtle changes can mess with the facial recognition. But if every day you take the subway, every day they take a photo of you, they can keep track of your face slowly changing over time, and then they can compensate for all the different changes your face goes through over time. It's just collecting data on you. That's what really happens in China. That's big data collection. And there's cameras everywhere too. So like, but that sort of stuff, if you say that, you might offend people. I might have offended people just now talking about that. Like people living in China, it's like, oh wait a minute. They scan my face every day when I take the subway. I mean, you know that. I mean, you know that, right? You have to know that it's part of the. I mean, I guess it's surveillance. I mean, they're not actively surveilling you, but they're collecting a lot of data on everybody, right? And then if they need to find you, they can find you because they just say, okay, track this face, and then they just have all these records of all the things you've done, all the places you've been to. If they need to find it, I mean, they don't look through it unless they have a reason, but if they have a reason, they can find you. So that's the reality of, you know, big data. So like data analysis, data collection, it's not what it looks like in the video game. Like this fiction is really silly. Like the real thing is something that the game completely avoids. And I have not avoided, so I might get in trouble. But the game, it feels like the game is trying to like talk about these things without offending anyone. So they make up this fictional thing that is just silly, and they just never actually talk about the real thing. It feels a little bit like that. It's okay, I mean, I can't blame them. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so that's Chongqing. Overall, I feel like the city in the background is more interesting than the actual gameplay areas. Because you look at the skyline, the bridge, look at the neon lights, you look at these buildings, like everything looks so cool, like the monorail above and the monorail below and the mountain and the big apartment blocks. Like all of that is so much more interesting than that silly abandoned building with the mad scientist inside, or the silly ICA facility that's all empty space and no one's actually doing any work. Right, the two actual gameplay areas are just kind of silly and not that interesting, whereas the city is super interesting, right? So, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what to say about it. I guess here's the thing, like with any like game design, any video game, or even any architectural project, you only have so much resources. Like you have so much time, money, and people. And so if you spend time and money and people doing one thing, you can't spend it doing something else. So all the time and effort they spent building Chongqing, that's time they can't spend building the gameplay areas. You know what I mean? Whereas, like in some of the other maps, the background is very simple, and so then you can spend more time on the level. Here, the background is very complicated, and so maybe that's why the gameplay areas are less interesting. I mean that's how it is, right? You can't get around the realities of business. And also maybe they didn't want to offend anyone, so they can't make it too realistic. Because if they actually talk about the real things that are going on, then they would offend people. So they don't talk about the real things, and so they make up this silly sci-fi stuff that's just silly, really. and it's especially jarring to me the fact that there does not seem to be a government here. Like in the United States, and even in Europe, maybe less so in Europe actually, especially in the United States and in some parts of the United States, if you don't see a government presence, that's expected because there's this idea of a small government, the idea that personal liberties, like the government should stay out of your life and all that. But that's not China. China is completely different. China, people expect the government to be there. Like they expect 1 out of every 500 people works for the government. and they're not like outsiders. No, they're people living in the neighborhood. And they vote for those people. They have local elections. They vote for the people who represent them in government. It sounds insane if you're not familiar with the Chinese system. But when I play the game and I don't see any sign of the Communist Party, that's super weird, actually. And like, it's subtle. Like it's subtle, but if you know what you're looking for, you'll find them. Right? If you know who they are, you'll see them everywhere. But like if you don't pay attention, then you won't notice them, right? They're just ordinary people, or they look like ordinary people. But what they're doing is they're talking to people, and they're making sure people are okay, right? That sounds so strange when I speak out in English like that. Like, you know, if there's rubbish on the street, they'll be like, "Why is there rubbish on the street? Do you need help with the rubbish?" You know, stuff like that. They like. Yeah, no, it's super weird in the game. The idea that the government's not around, just looking at everything all the time. Anyway, I'll stop talking about that. The thing is, there's no government officials in any of the other levels as well. Like, the game does deliberately stay away from politics. It's just that in China, it's a little strange when you do that. In a lot of the other locations, it's fine. A lot of the other locations, they're like not inside big cities, some of them, or like if they're inside big cities, they're inside big cities in a way that you don't expect the government to be there anyway. But yeah, in China, that's a little odd. Alright, so the real Chongqing is not really like this. First of all, it's much bigger than this. Second of all, what you really want to do is go visit Chongqing and go to the other side of the river and see those big skyscrapers up close. So this game gives you a little bit of a taste from a distance, but you really should go see it for yourself. Alright, so we still need to eliminate our targets. Let me find our targets real quick.
Those targets in one go.
Ah, there they
You
are.
are good. My turn.
Nice.
Just give me a second, and I'm in. You can now access the core 47.
So I'm gonna take a train out of here. In the next video, we're going to Argentina. We're going to visit a fancy vineyard in Mendoza, Argentina. So that'll be interesting. Let me get on the train. Pandas. Alright, let's get out of here. See you in Argentina.